Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of HomeTech. I'm Seth Johnson, joined as always by Jason Griffin. Jason, how are you doing, man?
It's going great, Seth. How are you?
Good. It's episode 99.
I know. Can you believe it?
No, I can't.
We are one episode away from our 100th show, and that is very surprising to me, man. Time really flies.
Yeah, I can't believe we've been sitting down mostly every week. We have a couple of scheduling issues and vacations that have popped up and, family obligations. But for 2 years now we've been sitting down doing this. And yeah,
I was doing that math actually in my head the other day, and I was thinking, February 12th was the 2-year anniversary of our first show being released. So in just over 2 years, we got to 100 episodes. So we did miss a few in there, but I think we've done pretty good, Seth.
Yeah, I do too. not bad.
So yeah, it's definitely exciting, and we're really looking forward to sharing episode 100. We've got something we think is kind of special planned, where we're going to go back and look through kind of the archives, and I've been working on this behind the scenes and kind of going through and picking out some of what I think to be the highlights, really, of 100 episodes of doing Home Tech, and it's been very interesting to go back and listen to the things that we were talking about 1 or 2 years ago, and really how much has changed and how much has stayed the same. And I've just really enjoyed going back and just kind of reviewing the archives, and I really look forward to sharing some of those memories with our audience next week.
Yeah, me too. And if you ever want to go listen to those archives, they're all at HomeTech.fm.
That's it.
Yeah,
you got it.
I think at some point you can go. No, I think every single show you can do HomeTech.fm/ the show number. So /1 is the first show, and /99 is this show. And that's where you can find the audio and all the links to everything that we talk about in the show, which is
absolutely
good for searching and posterity, I think.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to 100 more, Seth. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. On to 200, as they say.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, for tonight's show, we actually had initially and kind of teased a little bit. And if you're tuning in, hoping to hear Chris Gamble of Live Install, we're still actually hoping to get him on. It's kind of a unique circumstance for us, given being on different sides of the world and time zones and everything. So we actually have just been having some trouble making schedules line up. So, Seth, we sat down to record this episode, and we're just going to push forward with it and share some thoughts. There was a couple of big stories we wanted to share, and as I'm stating this, we're still not sure. We're hoping to get him on this week, and we'll see if he's able to join us. And if not, we will make every effort to get him on very soon to summarize his thoughts of ISE, which just wrapped up.
Yep. I can't wait to get him on and talk to him about what he saw, what he liked at the show, and how good was the beer and peanuts.
Yeah, the monkey nuts. The mystery was solved.
Yeah. Well, what was funny is I'll put this link to this article. They evidently had a recall in the UK of some monkey nuts because people weren't quite aware that they were peanuts. So I don't think it's completely regional. But yeah, funny.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that one.
So last week was not only our 2-year anniversary to the date of our show, but we also had a pretty huge episode where we announced the Wipe Warmer 3000. But I did want to clear up some confusion.
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of confusion around that.
Yeah. A friend of the show, Frank Rao, wrote in on Twitter. This is one of a tweet shout-outs here to Frank. He said, listening to the show and laughing out loud at the mystery box. I thought you two were saying Wife Warmer 3000. And yeah, I can see the confusion.
Which could have a lot of different meanings that we won't go into here.
Don't go to wifewarmer3000.com. Completely different
NSFW.
website.
Yeah, not safe for work there.
Oh man, that had me laughing pretty hard when he sent that over. So just wanted to thank him on air for writing in, and also for everyone else who wrote back and their support of the Wipe Warmer 3000. That was exciting. It was a lot of fun to put together, and I'm glad there was some entertainment value out of it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Really enjoyed that. Wife got a kick out of it, and I think I'm going to have to start a little like a feature request or maybe a bug reporting forum where we can do periodic check-ins, Seth, and we'll see, because like we talked about last week, we're still early in this. We're in alpha, so we're open to feedback.
All right, have you started using it yet?
We have messed around with it. I have to be honest. I have not put it into practice yet, but I fully intend to.
All right, it's not cold enough, is what you're saying.
It's been actually funny you mentioned that. It's been unseasonably warm. So there you go. The weather just hasn't forced the issue quite yet.
All right. Well, for your daughter's sake, it's time to break out the wipe warmer 3000.
I know. Be civilized, right?
All right. Well, there were a couple of other big news stories that hit this week that besides the wipe warmer 3000 that we kind of wanted to touch on. And one of them was we're going to have to go back to our old mainstay of talking about Crestron, but they actually had some pretty cool products that they released at ISE that we wanted to touch on. I thought was really cool was they opened up integration for, well, not so much integration, but they opened up integration to Basalt and some other third parties for third-party CrestNet keypads, which is their proprietary control protocol that Crestron has. But having the ability to have third-party manufacturers put together what essentially is a Crestron keypad and have it directly programmed and everything into the system, that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting story, and some of the devices that they showed with that integration I thought were pretty cool. There was one, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Tyba, spelled Tyba, Turn, and I went and checked this thing out on the website, and it looks like a pretty neat device. Seth, you know me, I'm a big tactile control guy, and really get excited about any stories or products that are kind of going to that end, and that's really what this thing is about. We'll have to include a link in the show notes so people can go check it out, but it appears to me to be about the size of like a Nest thermostat and kind of has that same round shape to it and has a physical knob and a screen on the front of it that can display obviously various things and looks like a device really aimed at kind of doing tactile control. But to your point, the really interesting aspect to this is that it's got this CrestNet protocol built right into it, which I thought was an interesting story.
Yeah, and that's like a special 4-wire thing that you have. It's hardwired, right? Or I think they have wireless CrestNet as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually the answer to that, but traditionally, yeah, I've always thought of it as the 4-wire bus that basically they use as their proprietary form of communication. So it's used on pretty much, I think, all of their lighting keypads and some of the older touch panels that we were doing in the past made use of that CrestNet communication. More and more, we've seen those move over, obviously, to Ethernet and PoE power. But the CrestNet had 4 wires, 2 that provided power and 2 that provided communication. And a device like Basalt, for instance, is now being manufactured, or at least being shown, with that connector and that CrestNet technology built right into it. So it makes the integration, at least the argument would be that it makes the integration much simpler. And so we don't have to go jump through hoops and maybe get Basalt's proprietary controller, hook that up on the Ethernet, then go back to Crestron and get the driver and make that all work together. It's just taking that one layer, and a big layer, I should add, of kind of moving parts out of the integration and making it that much more seamless. So definitely an interesting story to me.
Yeah. And the other big thing I saw in there was DM, which is Crestron's video distribution insanely expensive matrix system that they have, now integrates with Ping, which I guess after last week's show,
kind of opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Well,
right?
I guess to me that signals the death knell in the coffin. Like, to me, after last week's show, Crestron's moving away from mass market. I think Ping is going to be kind of one of their lower entry level controllers, and it's going to be able to do everything that their system, what do they call them, system 2, system 3 controllers can do. Eventually, one day, sometime down the road.
Yeah, Ping is an interesting story to me, and we talked about it last week, so I won't spend too much time rehashing it. But the interesting aspect of Ping is when it first came out, it was really being framed and pitched, at least my perception of it, and I think generally people would agree with this, as a down market solution, as a solution that you could go into smaller jobs, less custom requirement on the project, and kind of get in and get out and do more repeatable work. And it still had that upgrade path or that ability to tie in to a certain extent with some of their higher end, more custom systems. But I was going back actually as part of my prep for episode 100 next week, and was listening to, we had Evan Ackman on from Crestron back when Ping had first come out. And I will say that after listening to that episode, I will give credit to Crestron for more consistent messaging than I had kind of remembered in my head. And what I mean by that is that from the start, when we had Evan on, this was right after CEDIA 2014, the product was very new, and his messaging was very consistent in that Crestron didn't see this as a down market solution. They just saw it as a tool or device to make the smaller, less demanding projects in terms of custom requirements easier and less expensive to integrate. And so Ping has just been an interesting story to see that kind of transition, and the fact that they are still developing for it and adding new integrations. I think obviously there's some investment and some technology there that they're not going to just simply walk away from. And I think, to my point last week, this does show an indication that Crestron isn't abandoning the residential market, not completely at least. But again, my stance is that they're going to continue to take what they can from the high end of the residential market, and they're going to focus really on their core business, the 80% of their business, which is commercial.
Yep. I think you're absolutely right there. As that area of the market, I mean, I was listening to our show, and again, what you said about, living out in LA and homes, that Crestron was the only system that fits the bill. And I've been in those situations where you certainly start hitting limits as to what a control system can do, and you actually have to work around those limits. Well, with a Crestron system, you really don't have those limits per se. I mean, you can kind of bend the system to fit into whatever hole you need to put it into. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty big for that's what you need for commercial jobs. One, I mean, every commercial job is going to be different in some respect. And then for super, super high-end homes, which most of the times are going to match what a commercial installation needs, right? You're looking at, 40 zones of air conditioner and AC in some of these homes, and you don't run into that in most day-to-day homes that you and I are in most of the time.
Yeah, I was just going to say that really those projects that I was alluding to are very few and far between, and certainly not the norm. And again, just to my point, that's kind of the small segment of residential that Crestron appears to be very focused on. They did announce one other Ping related story that they're going to integrate with a new security panel. I think in the past it's only been Honeywell, and now there's a company called Texacom, which I have to admit I'm not familiar with. Seth, maybe you are. They also showed a new keypad that looked kind of like a simplified, smaller version of a touch panel with a few hard buttons. So there was a few stories, and Julie kind of jokingly put the title of her story over at CE Pro, the other big Crestron news, because obviously we've been talking at length as an industry about the recent decision to leave CEDIA, but this does show that that's not all Crestron has going on, and clearly they were at ISE showing some interesting things that I think are very relevant to the home technology market.
Yeah, I've never actually heard of that Texacom system, but I think I've seen their panels before, and they look kind of like what you would expect. They're a pretty high end looking device, which in the security world says a lot because most security systems look like they were made in the 80s, and they took industrial design from the 60s and said it was modern, and they haven't changed it since. Yeah, the aesthetic just doesn't appear to be a driving factor for a lot of security companies. I would agree with you there. This stuff looks good. Yeah, I thought so as well. Speaking of security, I think the second kind of story we wanted to touch on here is a big story about a potential acquisition of ADT, which previously has been a publicly traded company. So definitely a big story here. Yeah, Apollo Global Management, and without the risk of getting into being the money show, has said that they are going to acquire the home monitoring company ADT for $6.9 billion. It's an insane amount of money. It's one of the biggest leveraged buyouts of the years, and they're going to go ahead and basically take ADT and move it over into this private equity firm, which I guess to me that takes it out of being a private company anymore. That's what it looks like they're doing. So they no longer have to deal with shareholders getting cranky when something happens, and in fact their stock has gone down quite a bit. I mean, not saying that ADT is the best company in the world, but if they want to make like progressive moves, they're going to have to spend some money, and stockholders don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
which has been seen by companies, recent companies like Control4 going public, where they made the decision in the past to announce product and it didn't ship for a while. Well, and then they announced bad quarterly earnings. It kind of this perfect storm of things hitting one of their quarters, and their stock price just tanked overnight. I guess what I'm trying to get to is that this story kind of, when I read it, I was thinking in my head, maybe, going public isn't the best thing for home automation companies at this point in time.
Right.
Because you have companies like Crestron who say, no, we don't want to deal with, all we want is the super high end cream of the crop products, or projects. We don't want mass market. Can you imagine if Control4 came out and said that? What would happen?
Oh yeah, it'd be a fire sale.
Right. So like this to me, evidently ADT had a bunch of debt too, that was going on. But this to me looks like they are taking the company and they want to do something a little bit special down the road, but they're going to have to do it privately without being so much in the public eye. Which they have that flexibility, or they will have that flexibility now if this goes through.
Yeah, I think that's always been the interesting thing to me. You mentioned Control4, and we work in such a nuanced industry that's really still, despite the best efforts of a lot of marketing dollars by being spent by various companies, is still very much an under the radar industry, and not one that I think is necessarily lends itself well to being publicly traded. And the stock market is obviously a very fickle animal and isn't always paying attention to what might be best in the long term for a company, but really it can be very reactive. And when you see a company like Control4 make certain announcements that possibly people like you and me or home technology enthusiasts who are watching may be happy about, maybe in the long term they think that is the right play for Control4, well, the stock market might disagree with that and punish them. And we've seen that happen before. And so we're not just speculating. It's happened. And I think that a company like ADT, although quite obviously not a direct comparison to a company like Control4, I think there are enough similarities there. At its core, it is a home technology company. And I think in the long run, may be better off being privately held because, like you said, it gives them that flexibility to do things in this evolving space, which is a very rapidly evolving space. And that's one of the core themes of our show and something we talk about all the time. And really companies that operate in this space, you've got these legacy companies like ADT that have been doing business forever. And they're really looking at a sea change that's going on in the home technology industry. And it's more important than ever for these companies to be nimble and be able to adapt and experiment with different business models. And maybe that had something to do with this buyout. But like you said, ADT may have been carrying a lot of debt, and perhaps this just was an opportunistic move by the investment company. Who knows? That's purely speculation. But I do think that in the long run, there are benefits for a company like ADT or even Control4 to not be publicly traded.
I'm looking at the only other, well, I guess there's Nortec as well, which kind of has their fingers in a bunch of different markets. But Alarm.com would be the only other recent home technology company that has gone public. Their stock opened up at like 18 or something at one point. It was up to $18. It dropped down to close to 12, and it slowly made its way back up to it made its way back up to 18, and now it's dropping back down to 16. So like it seems like everybody's on this roller coaster ride. I don't think investors really know or understand home technology better than, I mean, many of the investors are my customers, so I know that they don't understand home technology.
Right. Good, fair point.
Yeah. So, but they do understand the money and the business aspect of things. And it just seems like we're in this climate these days. Like everybody wants to make a quick buck, you know, like everybody is looking for those skyrocket to the moon growth companies, and no one wants to deal with a a steady growth company or a company that's focused on the long term. Everybody kind of, that's what it feels like to me. And when you see the markets react so violently towards a stock, they're not, to me, it doesn't seem like they see the big picture at all. Like they just want to see quarter to quarter that the company is doing exponential growth with no end in sight. And I don't see how that's possible in this market. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because you need tried and true, and you need long-term thinking. And I don't see how that plays with the way the stock market's played these days.
Well, and it's a great point, and it, I think, really speaks to the even greater challenge faced by a company like Control4, because when you compare Control4 and their business model to a company like ADT or even Alarm.com, to, I would say, a little bit lesser of an extent, just because they haven't been around as long, but still the core of that business model and the real driver of the valuation of these sort of companies is in the recurring revenue. It's in the contracts. And that's something that's been around for long enough, and there are markets for people that acquire these contracts, and it's easy enough to put a value on them. And if the stock market and investors can't wrap their brain around the valuation of a company that's using one of these business models based on security and recurring monthly revenue, that is a relatively easy to evaluate in our industry, then how do you expect them to really understand the nuance of what a company like Control4 is doing, which is totally, like I said, under the radar to most people.
Right. And I mean, same thing for Alarm.com. They're not RMR based. They attach themselves to it, but they're still a dealer
different model,
dealer based company. I think if they came out with a DIY solution through Alarm.com, they would do fairly well with that, and I think investors would like that too. But and we've heard rumors of them having something in the works, but we haven't seen anything yet, and I'm just kind of waiting around for that to happen, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this isn't a complete done deal. There is, I think, through March, some sort of open bidding process. I don't know how these things work, but there, is a potential for other buyers to come in. And Seth, I was wondering if you might be interested in going out and shopping for a loan with me.
Hey, I am making enough now off the Wipe Warmer 3000 that I might consider buying ADT.
No need, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
okay. You're looking at it. I like it.
Got that much under the pillow.
Awesome. Well, let's move on. We got another story here that is an exciting one, I think, to you, Seth, in particular, and that is that LG is looking to launch a couple of more affordable OLED TVs later this year.
Yeah, well, it's only half exciting because they're announcing curved TVs, and I'm not really interested in those. But the flat,
so we can ignore that half of the story.
Exactly. When is that gimmick going to die? I don't know, but.
That is a good question.
The flat, they're announcing that they'll have OLED available in 55 and 65 inch, both curved and flat. We have a link to the article. They're saying they're lower priced, but they're not giving us any pricing to go off of.
Right.
Which I mean, anything under $10,000 is good, right? Right?
Yeah. Well, I did recall seeing an article earlier this week that I believe the G6, which is the flagship OLED that we talked about after CES, I believe was going to go for $8,000 retail. And I'll see if I can find the link to that so we can include it in the show notes. And so that should kind of give you an idea for the pricing. $8,000 is, to most people, a boatload of money to spend on a TV. If you're dealing with somebody who, maybe budget isn't a driving concern and you really want the best of the best, OLED is definitely up there and has to be in the conversation. But to your point, and to my point, it is exciting to see that they are going to release some more affordable models, and I will be very eager to see what kind of price points they're able to get to with the 55 and 65 inch.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their website now. They have OLED TVs in a 55 inch in the $2,000 to $3,000 range right now. So if they drop below that, there's one for $17.99. If they drop below that, that puts this technology in a fairly reachable place for most people who are looking for something in that range, like a 55 or 65 inch TV. So I think that's pretty good. By the way, that $8,000 price point, that was for the 65 inch. The 77 inch OLED is still $2,500.
$25,000.
Sorry, $25,000. Yeah.
I was like, $2,500 is a great deal.
Yeah, let's buy 3 of those.
$25,000. So there you go. You make a big, significant jump when you go up from that 65, which I think is typical in most TV technologies. It seems like you can get to that 65-inch price point, and it's a fairly consistent kind of jump in price. And then it's when you kind of jump up to the 75 and the 85, that's when you start to see the really big 10 times increases in price, or 3 or 4 times, or whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah. Sony, I think, has the same kind of price point. They have a $20,000 or $25,000 TV right now. I can't remember. Sony training's coming up, so I'll have maybe some news in March after I go through the Sony training. Yay. It's as fun as it sounds, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounded pretty sincere.
Well, I've been to a couple of them, and they do a good job, but it's still training.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a big fan of Sony, and think they make great products, but like you said, training is training. We'll look forward to hearing your thoughts, though, once you get back from that, because I do think they make great TVs, great projectors as well.
Well, another company that makes great TVs and really interesting products, B&O. They have a hub, man.
I was waiting. Oh, there it is.
It's a little delayed. I'm sorry. I had passed out by looking at the price of this thing.
Yeah. Fair point. Yeah, $1,500. So not cheap.
No. As with most Bang & Olufsen product, it is sporting a price point absurdly higher than anything else I can possibly think of.
Yeah, anything comparable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that B&O can typically get away with charging that. They've got a very premium brand, and a lot of the design that they do and the product design really backs that up, and people are willing to pay for it. It's a luxury brand, and they have that recognition. This, on the other hand, isn't really, it sits in the background. It's a hub. It's basically an integration point, I think was the word that you used, Seth, as we were kind of preparing for the show, which I thought was pretty accurate. In a sense, I guess it is a hub, and I'm glad you rang the bell for it, right? But it is sort of just a bridge in a way where finally there is the ability. I just feel like for a long time for me, it's come up in numerous installations, because you have a certain clientele that shops for the systems that we sell. And those clients who are in the market for solutions from companies like Savant and Crestron and Control4 are also the type of clients who will shop around for products from a company like B&O. And so you do get that overlap. And I've had it happen on more than one occasion where, a client gets really excited about a particular B&O product, and we just really have no way, or in the past have had no way to tie that in to a broader control system. And this is finally a product that appears to be solving that issue.
Yeah, it definitely could help out with integration. It looks like they say Crestron, Control4, Savant, but it also integrates with a number of internet-based products like Nest thermostats, Amazon Echo. They're touting a couple of those, including everyone's favorite Internet of Things programming crazy website I still don't understand, If This Then That. Right.
And if that doesn't, to me, if that doesn't tell you about the trend that's happening in home technology, then I don't know what does, because you've got, again, this very premium, very high-end company that's always operated within its own little ecosystem, and that's been just about it, other than maybe some very simple integration using something like IR, has really, by and large, been its own thing, its own ecosystem. And to see them coming out with integrations with companies like If This Then That is a great example to me of what's happening. It's sort of a microcosm of the industry, and something that really I just find fascinating to see this increasing overlap between companies that have always been this sort of premium, isolated user experience, now being forced to really look at these different technologies and how do we play in this smart home and connected home space. So I just think that's kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah, and for $1,500,
right,
make it happen.
Right. But again, I just don't see that being a major issue for B&O because of the company they are, and because of the people who shop for those products. This is clearly not intended to be a product marketed towards a big audience. This is for people who are shopping for B&O components, and this is, again, that bridge or that integration point. And so, to me, very expensive. To most people, very expensive. But to your typical B&O customer, I don't see that as being a deal breaker.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. When I was And I was in Munich a couple months back in December. We were walking along trying to find one of the metro stations or subway stations. I can't remember what they call it there. I guess underground. Nope, that's London. Crud. They're all called something different.
You're not very cultured.
Yeah, well, it's a train. You get on it. They all smell the same.
Great point.
Yeah, we were walking down the street, and I guess we turned out we were in kind of a high-end area, and I was just shocked as like there was this massive B&O showroom that had all the TV and AV product and everything kind of lined up out front there, and you just sitting there drooling over this stuff. And right next door was a showroom completely dedicated to the BMW i8, which is that crazy looking all electric car. So that tells you what clientele are going to be shopping in that area.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up our news stories this week. And it does appear like we are going to miss having Chris on this week. We may try to connect with him and get that edited in after the fact. But for now, just plan on tuning in. We'll keep you as the audience posted, and we certainly will try to get him on here within the next week or two to share his thoughts on ISE, which again just wrapped up as we're sitting here recording this. And as always, looked like it was a big show, and looks like there was quite a bit going on there. And so we really look forward to hopefully getting Chris on. It just can be tough with those time zones. He's obviously on the other side of the world, literally. And so we just weren't able to make it line up this week.
Yeah, I think he's 5 or 6 hours ahead of me, and I guess 8 ahead of you. I mean, it's in the middle of the night for that guy. So, man, he's a trooper if he's staying up talking to us.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, I want to mention that all of the things that we talked about on the show tonight will be available on our website. If you want to check out links, see pictures of the stuff we're talking about, HomeTech.fm/99.
Has a good ring to it.
Yeah,
99.
It does.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, be sure to tune in again next week. We've got a special show planned where we're going to go through and kind of dig through the archives and share some of the best memories that we have from doing 100 episodes of the show. And once again, just can't believe it's been 100 episodes. We've had a lot of fun, and want to really sincerely thank you as a listener for tuning in and being part of the Home Tech show and part of our journey as home technology podcasters.
Yeah, definitely. It has been a great 2 years of doing this. We've seen. I think you and I have had just a blast talking to everybody, talking to our listeners. The feedback stuff is great. Keep the tweets coming. Keep the feedback form coming. That stuff keeps us going. Helps us find new content for the show. I mean, it's kind of slow right now, so anything that you see out there, let us know about it, because it's pretty easy for us to miss with all the crazy stuff that's going on in the other news these days.
Yeah, a lot going on. So we really do appreciate listeners reaching out and sharing what you as a listener think is an important story, and we welcome any feedback. You can do that in a couple of different ways. One of the ways Seth kind of alluded to is on Twitter, which we're at HomeTech Podcast. You can hop over to the website HomeTech.fm/feedback. Is a great way to do that. And if you're enjoying the show, we do want to encourage you to sign up for our email list. That's something we're kind of doing more with this year that we haven't really done a lot with in the past. And you can do that just going to our website, HomeTech.fm, and on the right-hand side, you'll see the quick sign-up form there. And we're sending out weekly show reminders. And in addition to that, I've been doing sort of a weekly newsletter where I'm sharing some thoughts on a few of the big stories from the week. And sometimes it's stuff that we discuss on the show, and sometimes it's not. But either way, it's fun to be able to share some additional thoughts with you. And if you're interested in receiving that, just hop on over to HomeTech and sign up for our email list.
Yep, that's a good thing. I guess this is going to wrap up 99. Jason, I will see you next week for episode 100.
All right, sounds good, Seth. We'll talk soon.
Yep, have a good week.